Well, hey there, friends. I'm Grant, one of the pastors here, and as you probably have heard, we're backed up. We have some unresolved plumbing issues, which unfortunately is not allowing us to be together this morning, but we can still be together right now. We can still do church because, as you guys all know, church is not this building, church is us. So today I hope that you're encouraged. I also hope that you're challenged. And today I hope you can really get thinking as we head into this week. We're going to be heading into a series together looking at how we as Christians and we as a church engage, operate in our culture that is so very non-Christian. How we do in our culture today that has very different values than what we read together in the Bible. So I'm going to be asking questions like, how do we as individual people and how do we as a church do engaging with our culture? And I'm going to be asking you personally, what do you usually do? How do you usually relate to the culture that has very different values than what we profess in Jesus Christ? There are three different options, really three different directions we as a church and we as Christians can take. We can clash with our culture, we can conform to our culture, or we can connect with our culture. When we clash with our culture, we're saying this is a war, man. We're saying it is an us versus them mentality, that we are in a fight for survival against them. In Acts chapter 15, the early church actually dealt with this when the Apostle Peter and some of his followers forced Gentiles who wanted to accept the Christian faith to adopt Jewish customs and be circumcised in order to do that. In fact, Peter and his followers would actually sit on different tables away from those Gentiles that did not follow through with those customs. Paul came in and said, wait a second, Peter, by doing that, there's actually a whole group of people you're not reaching, and you're actually pushing some people away from the hope of Jesus. Peter eventually came around to Paul's way of thinking because he understood that when we clash with our culture, we become ingrown, we become self-focused, and we actually become detached from the culture that we are in, rendering ourselves much more ineffective. The other direction that we can take is we can conform to our culture, where we say we value what our society values, that in order to witness, we must become. If we're going to effectively witness to someone, we must become them and value what they value. See, when this happens, however, our values become diluted. Our beliefs become diluted. That we really start asking, what then do we actually stand for? What then do we actually believe? And what are we built upon? Christ talked to this sort of church in Revelation when he said, look, you're lukewarm, you're diluted. What do you stand for? You're not hot, you're not cold, and so I'm actually going to spit you out of my mouth because you're ineffective, because you don't stand for anything, because you have totally conformed and diluted the values upon which you stand. The third option, the third direction we can take is connecting with our culture. And letting you in on a little secret, this is the direction that I hope you and I can live out, is being able to connect with the society around us. Jesus says in John chapter 15 that you are in the world, but you are not of it. You are called to the world that you live in, but you are not of it because you belong to a different flock. You belong to a different family, the body of Christ. Paul walked this out in Acts chapter 17. I hope you guys can read that sometime. He's in the city of Athens. And in Athens, he demonstrates that he understands that culture. He actually gives respect to part of that culture. He shows that he's not detached from it, that he understands the intricacies of that city. But here's the thing. In doing so, he didn't worship the gods. He didn't worship the values that that city worshiped and valued. He brought Christ into the understanding, into the context of that culture. And that's what connecting with the culture is all about. Saying, I'm not detached from it. I'm not in a war with you, but I'm not diluting what I value. I'm bringing Christ into the culture that I am called to. So I want to ask you this morning, how are we as a church doing with this? How are we as SweetLife Church doing? Do you think we clash? Do we conform? Or do we connect with our culture? And how about you? How do you usually process with and engage with the culture, the society around you, with what they value and what Christ is saying? So I want to leave us with a challenge this week. I want to challenge you to connect during this next week. Connect with the people around you. Be an ambassador of Jesus Christ where you are. Because remember, the people around you are your mission field. You are called into that world, not to clash with it, not to conform with it, but to connect with it and to bring the good news of the hope, the peace, the love, and the saving power of Jesus to those people around you. So I hope you're encouraged this morning. I hope you're challenged, and I'm excited to hear the stories of you connecting with everybody this week.